Everything looks perfectly healthy. And congratulations, it's twins.
Twins? Oh my goodness.
Olivia Reed adjusted the straps of her emerald cocktail dress as she stepped onto the rooftop terrace of the Riverside Plaza Hotel. The summer breeze carried the scent of jasmine from the decorative planters, and string lights created a magical canopy above the celebration. She had worked a double shift at the Children's Hospital before rushing home to change, and exhaustion tugged at her bones despite her best efforts to appear energetic. There you are. Ruby Chen practically bounced across the terrace in her champagne-colored dress, her engagement ring catching the light. I thought you were going to bail on me. I promised I'd be here, didn't I? Olivia hugged her best friend tightly. Congratulations again. I still can't believe you're getting married. Ruby beamed with happiness. 6 months until the big day. And you're my maid of honor, so prepare yourself for dress fittings and cake tastings. She linked her arm through Olivia's. Come on, there are some people I want you to meet. The party buzzed with laughter and conversation. Ruby's fiancé had invited several business associates, and the guest list read like a who's who of the city's young professional elite. Olivia felt distinctly out of place among the corporate executives and entrepreneurs. As a pediatric nurse, her world revolved around sick children and worried parents, not investment portfolios and luxury brands. An unexpected connection. She was standing near the bar, nursing a glass of sparkling water when she noticed him. Tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell slightly across his forehead. He stood alone by the terrace railing, looking out at the city lights. Unlike the other guests who mingled and networked, he seemed content in his solitude. Something about his posture suggested he was as much an outsider at this party as she felt. Not a fan of crowds either? Olivia found herself saying as she approached, surprising herself with her boldness. The man turned, and Olivia caught her breath. His eyes were an unusual shade of amber, intelligent and guarded. A slight smile played at the corners of his mouth. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's also looking for an escape route. Olivia smiled back. I'm Olivia, Damien Foster. He shook her hand, his grip warm and firm. I'm here as a favor to a client who's friends with the groom. You, best friend of the bride since college. Ruby would never forgive me if I skipped. Olivia leaned against the railing beside him. So what do you do when you're not attending engagement parties as professional obligations? I'm an architect. I design buildings that hopefully don't fall down. Damien's amber eyes sparkled with humor. What about you? Pediatric nurse. I take care of kids who definitely do fall down, along with everything else that can happen to them. Olivia watched his expression shift to genuine interest. It's not glamorous, but it matters. That's better than glamorous, Damien said quietly. That's meaningful. When the night got personal, the conversation flowed easily after that. They talked about everything and nothing. Olivia's worst day at work involving a toddler who swallowed a marble. Damien's current project designing a community center for underprivileged youth. Their shared love of old movies and hiking trails. Time seemed to dissolve as they discovered unexpected common ground. I should probably go mingle, Olivia said eventually, though she made no move to leave. Ruby will come looking for me. Probably wise. Damien didn't step away either. Though I'm enjoying this conversation more than any networking I'd be doing, Ruby did eventually find them, her knowing smile making Olivia blush. I see you've met Damien. He designed the boutique hotel where we're having the reception. Isn't his work amazing? I haven't seen it yet, Olivia admitted. Then you should let him show you, Ruby suggested with barely concealed matchmaking glee. I need to go cut the cake anyway. You to stay and enjoy the party. As the evening progressed, Olivia found herself laughing more than she had in months. Damien had a dry wit that caught her off guard. Beneath his reserved exterior, she sensed a kindness that resonated with her own values. When the party began winding down around midnight, neither of them wanted to say goodbye, a decision that changed everything this might be forward. Damien said as they stood near the elevators. But I'm not ready for this night to end. Would you like to have a drink? Somewhere quieter? Olivia knew she should say no. She had work in the morning, and she barely knew this man. But something about Damien made her want to throw caution to the wind for once in her carefully planned life. I'd like that. They ended up at his apartment, a modern loft with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. The space was minimalist but warm, filled with architectural sketches and books. One drink turned into two, and conversation gave way to stolen glances and electric tension. "I don't usually do this," Olivia whispered as Damien moved closer, his hand gentle on her cheek. "Neither do I," he replied, his voice rough. "But I can't stop thinking about you." The kiss was inevitable, passionate, and perfect. Olivia let herself fall into the moment, into the connection that felt both thrilling and terrifying. For one night, she wasn't a responsible nurse with bills to pay and a careful 5-year plan. She was just a woman, live and wanted and free. The morning after reality sunlight streaming through the windows woke Olivia. She blinked, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar room. Then memory crashed back: the party, the conversation, the night with Damien. She turned to find him still asleep beside her, his face peaceful and younger in repose. Panic seized her chest. What had she done? This wasn't her. She didn't have one-night stands with men she barely knew. Carefully, she slipped from the bed and gathered her clothes, dressing silently. She should leave a note, she thought. But what would she even say? Damien stirred as she was putting on her shoes. "Olivia." "I have to go," she said quickly, unable to meet his eyes. "Early shift at the hospital. Wait. Let me get your number." He reached for his phone on the nightstand. I don't think that's a good idea." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "Last night was amazing, but we both know this isn't. I mean, you're you, and I'm me, and we're from completely different worlds. Let's just leave it as a perfect memory. Okay?" Hurt flashed across Damien's face before his expression closed down. "If that's what you want, it is. Thank you for last night." Olivia fled before she could change her mind, before she could see whatever goodbye might be written on his face. 6. Weeks of normal that was Olivia threw herself back into her routine. Work consumed her days and most of her nights. She told Ruby a carefully edited version of what happened. Yes, she'd connected with Damien. No, it hadn't gone anywhere. Yes, she was fine with that. Ruby looked skeptical but didn't push. But 6 weeks later, Olivia found herself in the hospital bathroom, staring at a pregnancy test with 2 unmistakable pink lines. Then, at a second test, and a third, her hands shook as she gripped the sink. Her reflection in the mirror showing a woman whose entire life had just shifted on its axis. "No," she whispered. No. This couldn't be happening. They had been careful. Mostly careful. Oh God, what was she going to do? Tommy found her sitting on her apartment floor that evening, surrounded by pregnancy tests and empty tissue boxes. Her younger brother took one look at the situation and wrapped her in a fierce hug. "Okay," he said calmly, his presence steadying her. "Okay, we'll figure this out. First question, does the father know?" "I don't even have his phone number," Olivia choked out. "Tommy, I'm 28 years old. I'm a nurse. I know better than this. How did I let this happen?" "You're human. Liv. Humans make mistakes." Tommy squeezed her shoulder. "But this baby isn't a mistake. Unexpected, yes. Impossible? No. You're the strongest person I know. You'll handle this." Olivia wanted to believe him. But as she scheduled an appointment with an OB-GYN and practiced what she would say to Damien Foster when she found him, all she felt was terrified of how one perfect night had created a consequence that would last a lifetime. Probably wise. Damien didn't step away either. "Though I'm enjoying this conversation more than any networking I'd be doing," Ruby did eventually find them, her knowing smile making Olivia blush. "I see you've met Damien. He designed the boutique hotel where we're having the reception. Isn't his work amazing?" "I haven't seen it yet," Olivia admitted. "Then you should let him show you," Ruby suggested with barely concealed matchmaking glee. "I need to go cut the cake anyway. You two stay and enjoy the party." As the evening progressed, Olivia found herself laughing more than she had in months. Damien had a dry wit that caught her off guard. And beneath his reserved exterior, she sensed a kindness that resonated with her own values. When the party began winding down around midnight, neither of them wanted to say goodbye. A decision that changed everything this might be forward, Damien said as they stood near the elevators. But I'm not ready for this night to end. Would you like to have a drink? Somewhere quieter? Olivia knew she should say no. She had work in the morning, and she barely knew this man. But something about Damien made her want to throw caution to the wind for once in her carefully planned life. I'd like that. They ended up at his apartment, a modern loft with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. The space was minimalist, but warm, filled with architectural sketches and books. One drink turned into two, and conversation gave way to stolen glances and electric tension. I don't usually do this, Olivia whispered as Damien moved closer, his hand gentle on her cheek. Neither do I, he replied, his voice rough. But I can't stop thinking about you. The kiss was inevitable, passionate and perfect. Olivia let herself fall into the moment, into the connection that felt both thrilling and terrifying. For one night, she wasn't a responsible nurse with bills to pay and a careful 5-year plan. She was just a woman, alive and wanted and free. The morning after reality sunlight streaming through the windows woke Olivia. She blinked, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar room. Then memory crashed back: the party, the conversation, the night with Damien. She turned to find him still asleep beside her, his face peaceful and younger in repose. Panic seized her chest. What had she done? This wasn't her. She didn't have one-night stands with men she barely knew. Carefully, she slipped from the bed and gathered her clothes, dressing silently. She should leave a note, she thought, but what would she even say? Damien stirred as she was putting on her shoes. Olivia. I have to go, she said quickly, unable to meet his eyes. Early shift at the hospital? Wait, let me get your number. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. I don't think that's a good idea. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Last night was amazing, but we both know this isn't. I mean, you're you and I'm me, and we're from completely different worlds. Let's just leave it as a perfect memory, okay? Hurt flashed across Damien's face before his expression closed down. If that's what you want, it is. Thank you for last night. Olivia fled before she could change her mind. Before she could see whatever goodbye might be written on his face. 6 weeks of normal that wasn't Olivia threw herself back into her routine. Work consumed her days and most of her nights. She told Ruby a carefully edited version of what happened. Yes, she'd connected with Damien. No, it hadn't gone anywhere. Yes, she was fine with that. Ruby looked skeptical but didn't push. But 6 weeks later, Olivia found herself in the hospital bathroom, staring at a pregnancy test with 2 unmistakable pink lines. Then at a second test, and a third. Her hands shook as she gripped the sink, her reflection in the mirror showing a woman whose entire life had just shifted on its axis. No, she whispered. No, no, no. This couldn't be happening. They had been careful. Mostly careful. Oh God, what was she going to do? Tommy found her sitting on her apartment floor that evening, surrounded by pregnancy tests and empty tissue boxes. Her younger brother took one look at the situation and wrapped her in a fierce hug. Okay, he said calmly, his presence steadying her. Okay, we'll figure this out. First question, does the father know? I don't even have his phone number, Olivia choked out. Tommy, I'm 28 years old. I'm a nurse. I know better than this. How did I let this happen? You're human, Liv. Humans make mistakes. Tommy squeezed her shoulder. But this baby isn't a mistake. Unexpected. Yes. Impossible? No? You're the strongest person I know. You'll handle this, Olivia wanted to believe him. But as she scheduled an appointment with an OB-GYN and practiced what she would say to Damien Foster when she found him, all she felt was terrified of how one perfect night had created a consequence that would last a lifetime. Part 2. The truth comes. Outfinding Damien Foster, Ruby's eyes widened when Olivia explained what she needed. You want me to find contact information for Damien? Olivia, what's going on? They sat in Ruby's office at her wedding planning studio, surrounded by fabric swatches and flower catalogs. Olivia twisted her hands in her lap, unable to meet her best friend's concerned gaze. I need to talk to him. It's important. Important how? Ruby leaned forward. Liv, you ghosted him after Ruby's party. He actually called me to ask if you were okay, and I told him you weren't interested. What changed? The words stuck in Olivia's throat. Finally, she managed, I'm pregnant. The silence stretched between them. Ruby's expression cycled through shock, concern, and determination in rapid succession. Okay. Give me 10 minutes. True to her word, Ruby emerged from her computer with an address. His architecture firm is on Maple Street, Foster and Park Design, top floor. She grabbed Olivia's hand. Do you want me to come with you? No, I need to do this alone. Olivia stood on shaky legs. Thank you, Ruby. Anytime. And Liv, whatever happens, I've got your back. The architecture firm Revelation, the Foster and Park. Design offices occupied a converted warehouse space with exposed brick and massive windows. Olivia's hands were sweating as she approached the reception desk. A young man with glasses looked up with a professional smile. Good afternoon. Do you have an appointment? No, but I need to see Damien Foster. It's personal and urgent. Olivia's voice came out steadier than she felt. My name is Olivia Reed. The receptionist's eyebrows rose slightly. Apparently Damien had mentioned her. Let me check if he's available. One moment, please. Olivia paced the minimalist waiting area, her heart hammering. What if he refused to see her? What if he was angry? What if Olivia... She spun around. Damien stood in the doorway to the offices, wearing dark jeans and a button-down shirt rolled to his elbows. He looked exactly as she remembered, except his expression was guarded, cautious. Damien? Hi. I'm sorry to just show up like this. It's fine. He gestured toward the door. Come on back. We can talk in my office. The impossible conversation. Damien's office overlooked the street, filled with drafting tables and architectural models. He closed the door behind them and leaned against his desk, arms crossed. I didn't expect to see you again.
I know.
I'm sorry about how I left things. Olivia forced herself to look at him directly. I was scared and overwhelmed, and I handled it badly. Why are you here now? His tone wasn't unkind, just careful. There was no easy way to say it. I'm pregnant. The baby is yours. The color drained from Damien's face. He stared at her for a long moment, then sank into his desk chair. You're sure? Positive. I've taken 4 home tests and saw my doctor last week. Olivia's voice shook. I know this is a shock. Believe me, I'm still processing it myself. But I thought you had a right to know. We used protection. Damien ran his hands through his hair, his usual composure shattered. How did this happen? Protection isn't 100% effective. I'm a nurse. I should have known better. But here we are. Ow. Olivia sat down across from him. Look, I'm not asking anything from you. I can handle this on my own if I need to. I just felt you deserved to know the truth. Damien looked at her with those amber eyes, now filled with a swirl of emotion she couldn't quite read. You think I'm the kind of man who'd walk away from his responsibility? I don't know what kind of man you are. We spent one night together. The words came out harsher than Olivia intended. I don't know anything about you, Damien. Not really. Then maybe we should change that, he said quietly. Dr. Morales and the ultrasound, the appointment with Dr. Patricia. Morales was scheduled for the following Thursday. Olivia was surprised when Damien texted, asking if he could attend. Despite her nerves, she agreed. They met in the medical building lobby, the awkwardness between them palpable. Thanks for letting me come, Damien said. He held a small bag. I brought you some ginger tea. Ruby mentioned you've been having morning sickness. You talked to Ruby? Olivia accepted the thermos, touched by the gesture. I wanted to understand what you're going through. She gave me a reading list. Damien gave her a tentative smile. Did you know pregnancy symptoms can start as early as 6 weeks? I didn't. Something in Olivia's chest softened. You've been researching? Of course I have. Damien held the elevator door for her. This is my child too. Dr. Morales was a warm woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and an efficient manner. She took Olivia's medical history, while Damien sat quietly in the corner, absorbing everything. All right, Dr. Morales said finally. Let's take a look at this baby. Up on the table, Olivia? Olivia lay back, her shirt pulled up, as the doctor squeezed cold gel on her abdomen. Damien moved closer, his eyes fixed on the ultrasound screen. The room filled with the steady whooshing sound of a heartbeat. There's your baby, Dr. Morales said, pointing to a small blob on the screen. Measuring right around 8 weeks? Everything looks... ... Wait. The doctor fell silent, moving the wand around Olivia's belly. She frowned slightly, then smiled. Well, this is unexpected. What? What's wrong? Olivia's voice rose in panic. Nothing's wrong. Dr. Morales turned the screen toward them fully. Congratulations, parents. You're having twins. The weight of Tooth-a-World seemed to tilt sideways. Olivia stared at the screen where Dr. Morales pointed out 2 distinct heartbeats, 2 tiny developing babies. Twins, she whispered. Are you sure? Completely sure. See here and here? 2 separate sacs, 2 heartbeats. Fraternal twins, most likely. Dr. Morales looked between them. I know this is a shock, but both babies appear healthy and developing normally. Olivia couldn't breathe. 1 baby had been overwhelming enough. 2. How would she manage? The financial burden, the physical demands. Her career, everything she'd been trying to figure out, had just doubled in complexity. Olivia? Damien's voice seemed to come from far away. Olivia breathed. Look at me. She focused on his face, on his steady amber eyes. He looked stunned but not panicked. We're having twins, she managed. We are. Damien's hand found hers, squeezing gently. We're going to figure this out. Dr. Morales printed several ultrasound photos and scheduled Olivia's next appointment. The doctor's voice faded into background noise as Olivia clutched the images. Staring at the 2 tiny shapes that represented her future, in the parking lot afterward, Olivia finally let the tears come. Damien didn't try to stop her or offer empty platitudes. He simply stood beside her, a steady presence as she fell apart. I can't do this, Olivia sobbed. I don't know how to be a mother to 1 baby, let alone 2. I work 60-hour weeks. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. My salary barely covers my student loans. How am I supposed to? You're not alone, Damien interrupted firmly. I know we barely know each other. I know this isn't what either of us planned. But those are my children too, Olivia. Our children. We're in this together, whether you want to be or not. Olivia looked up at him through her tears. Why are you being so calm about this? I'm not calm. I'm terrified. Damien's voice cracked slightly. But I learned a long time ago that panic doesn't solve problems. Action does. So we're going to take this 1 step at a time. It's the first real conversation. They ended up at a quiet coffee shop, sitting across from each other with untouched cups between them. Damien pulled out a notebook and pen. Okay, let's start with the basics. When are you due? Dr. Morales said mid-March, but twins often come early. Olivia wrapped her hands around her cup. I'll probably have to go on bed rest in the 3rd trimester. Which means you'll need help. Financial support. Someone to bring you groceries. Drive you to appointments. Damien made notes. I want to contribute, Olivia. For prenatal care, for setting up a nursery, for whatever you need. I don't want your money out of obligation. The words came out defensive. It's not obligation. It's responsibility. There's a difference. Damien met her eyes. I'm not trying to buy my way out of being a father. I'm trying to make sure my children and their mother are taken care of. Olivia felt her walls cracking. I'm scared, she admitted. I'm terrified I'm going to mess this up. Join the club. Damien's smile was rueful. But maybe we mess it up together. Get to know each other, figure out how to co-parent. Give these kids the best chance we can. I don't even know your middle name. Olivia laughed weakly. James. Damien James Foster. I'm 32. I run my architecture firm with my business partner, Julian, and my mother is probably going to have a heart attack when I tell her about this. Damien leaned back. I'm an only child. I like my coffee black. And I've spent the last 6 weeks trying not to think about the woman who walked out of my apartment like... I was a mistake, she regretted. The honesty in his voice made Olivia's throat tight. You weren't a mistake. That night was perfect. That's what scared me.
Why?
Damien asked gently. Because perfect things don't last. Not in my experience. Olivia traced the rim of her cup. My dad died when I was 15. Tommy and I watched our mom fall apart and had to hold everything together. I learned early that the only person you can really count on is yourself. I'm sorry you went through that. Damien reached across the table. After a hesitation, Olivia took his hand. But you don't have to do everything alone anymore. Let me be here for you. For them, Olivia looked at their joined hands, at the ultrasound photos on the table between them. It felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't the life she'd planned. But maybe, just maybe, it could be something even better. "Kay," she whispered. "Let's try." 3 weeks after the ultrasound revelation, Damien invited Olivia to dinner to meet his mother. Olivia immediately regretted agreeing. She stood outside the upscale restaurant in her nicest maternity tap, ready necessary at 12 weeks. Pregnant with twins, Anne tried to calm her racing heart. "You've got this," Tommy's voice said through her phone. "Remember, you're a badass nurse who saves children's lives daily. One judgmental rich lady can't break you. What if she hates me?" Olivia watched well-dressed patrons enter the restaurant through the windows. Then she has terrible taste. Now go. Call me after. Tommy hung up before she could protest further. Damien was waiting in the lobby, looking nervous himself in dress pants and a crisp shirt. "My mother is challenging," he warned. "But she'll come around eventually." "Eventually?" Olivia raised her eyebrows. "Give it 20 or 30 years. His attempt at humor fell flat. "Sorry, I'm not good at this." Grace Foster was a striking woman in her early 60s. Impeccably dressed and radiating the kind of confidence that came from old money and social status. Her smile was polite, but cold as Damien made introductions. "Ah! So you're the young woman carrying my grandchildren," Grace said, her tone making it sound like an accusation rather than a statement. "Mom," Damien said warningly. "It's fine." Olivia straightened her spine. "Yes, Mrs. Foster. I understand this situation isn't ideal for anyone. Ideal would have been my son meeting someone appropriate, courting her properly, and marrying before starting a family." Grace sipped her water. "But I suppose we must make the best of things." The dinner was excruciating. Grace questioned everything from Olivia's education to her career plans to whether she'd trapped Damien deliberately. Damien tried to intervene, but Olivia found herself defending not just her choices, but her entire existence. "I didn't plan this," Olivia said finally, setting down her fork with careful precision. "I didn't pursue your son for his money or his name. We met, we connected, and yes, we made a choice that had consequences neither of us expected. But those consequences are to human beings who deserve better than to be discussed like they're inconveniences to be managed." Grace's eyes narrowed. "I'm protecting my son's interests. So am I." Olivia met the older woman's gaze steadily. "By trying to build a healthy co-parenting relationship with him, by making sure our children grow up with two parents who respect each other, even if we're not together romantically, that's in everyone's interest, including yours." When feelings complicate everything after the disastrous dinner, Damien walked Olivia to her car. "I'm so sorry," he said miserably. "I thought she'd handle it better. It's not your fault your mother is protective." Olivia leaned against her sedan, suddenly exhausted. Though appropriate, was a nice touch. "I got the message loud and clear that nurses don't meet the foster family standards. Her opinion doesn't matter to me." Now Damien moved closer. "You matter. The twins matter. That's it." Something in his voice made Olivia look up sharply. In the parking lot lights, she could see the sincerity in his expression, the warmth in those amber eyes. When had she started noticing how handsome he was instead of just acknowledging it as objective fact? "Damien," she started, but her phone interrupted with an emergency ringtone. She checked the screen and cursed. "It's the hospital. I'm on call tonight. Go, we'll talk later." But as she drove away, Olivia could feel his eyes following her, and something complicated, twisted in her chest over the following weeks. Damien was present for every doctor's appointment, every late-night food craving. every moment of morning sickness that stretched well past morning. He researched twin pregnancies obsessively, baby-proofed her apartment before she'd even started showing properly, and held her hair back when the nausea was overwhelming. Ruby noticed the change during a lunch date. "You're falling for him," she said knowingly. "I am not," Olivia poked at her salad. "We're just co-parenting effectively. Effective co-parents don't look at each other the way you two do." Ruby smiled. "It's okay to have feelings, Liv. It's not okay. It's terrifying." Olivia set down her fork. "What if I let myself fall and he doesn't catch me? What if this works now, but falls apart later? I can't put the twins through that. What if you're building something real and you're too scared to see it?" Ruby countered. The crisis that changed everything at 24 weeks. Olivia's world tilted again. She was at work checking on a patient when the cramping started. At first, she ignored it, just round ligament pain, she told herself. But when she felt wetness and looked down to see blood, terror seized her. "Get Dr. Morales," she told the nearest nurse. Now, the next hours blurred together. Emergency ultrasound. For fluids. Monitoring. Dr. Morales' face was grave. "Olivia, you're experiencing placental complications. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but you're going on complete bed rest, effective immediately. I'm talking no work, no stress, minimal movement. Twin pregnancies are already high risk. We need to give these babies every possible chance to stay put until at least 32 weeks. "But my patients, my job," Olivia protested weakly. "Will be there after your maternity leave. Your babies might not be if you don't take this seriously." Dr. Morales squeezed her hand. "I've called Damien. He's on his way." Damien burst into the room 20 minutes later, his face pale. "What happened? Are you okay? Are the babies everyone's okay?" For now, Olivia explained the situation, hating how small her voice sounded. "I have to stop working. I can't even get up except to use the bathroom. For the next 8 to 10 weeks, I'm basically furniture." "Okay." Damien pulled up a chair and took her hand. "Okay, we handle it." "How?" "I can't afford to miss that much work. My rent, my bills." The tears came, despite her best efforts to hold them back. "Move in with me," Damien said immediately. Olivia stared at him. "What? Move into my place?" "It's bigger than your apartment. I can be there to help you, and you won't have to worry about expenses." Damien spoke quickly, as if afraid she'd interrupt. "My spare room is on the ground floor, so no stairs. I work from home half the week anyway." "It makes sense, Olivia. That's a huge ask." Olivia couldn't quite process the offer. It's not an ask. It's what needs to happen. Damien's amber eyes were fierce. "You can't do this alone anymore. Stop trying to. Let me take care of you, please." Living together, falling together, moving in together was awkward at first. Olivia set up camp in Damien's spacious guest room, surrounded by pregnancy books and her laptop. True to his word, Damien restructured his work schedule to be available. He brought her meals, helped her to the bathroom when needed without making it weird, and read aloud from parenting books in the evenings. Tommy visited frequently, bonding with Damien over sports and terrible action movies. Ruby brought wedding magazines and gossip, but mostly it was just Olivia and Damien, learning each other in ways they never had before. "Why architecture?" Olivia asked one evening as they watched the sunset from her room's window. "My father wanted me to go into finance. Follow in his footsteps." Damien settled into the chair beside her bed. "But I loved building things, creating spaces where people could live and work and feel safe. We fought about it for years. He cut me off financially when I refused to change my major. It must have been hard." Olivia could hear the old pain in his voice. "Taught me to value what I build on my own terms. Julian and I started the firm with nothing but student loans and determination." Damien smiled slightly. "My father came around eventually, but by then, I didn't need his approval anymore." They talked about everything: childhoods and dreams, fears and failures. Damien told her about the pressure of being an only child to successful parents. Olivia shared memories of her father and the struggle of putting herself through nursing school. The conversations stretched long into the nights. building a foundation neither had expected. One morning, Olivia woke to find Damien assembling a crib in the corner of her room. "What are you doing?" "Getting ready." He looked up with a grin. "We're 28 weeks now. The twins could come any time after 32 weeks. I want to be prepared. You're building it in here?" Olivia's heart did something complicated in her chest. "Or else, you're stuck in this room. You should get to help decide how we set up for them." Damien held up 2 paint swatches. Sage green or soft yellow? They argued playfully about paint colors, debated names, and gradually built not. Just a nursery, but something that felt dangerously close to a family. The confession that changed everything at 30 weeks. Dr. Morales cleared Olivia for limited movement. The twins were growing well. The complications had stabilized, and everyone was cautiously optimistic. Damien took her outside for the first time in 6 weeks, just a short walk in the park near his apartment. "I missed this," Olivia breathed, tilting her face to the sun. "I never thought I'd appreciate fresh air so much. 2 more weeks, and you'll be full term for twins." Damien walked slowly beside her. "Then we meet them." "I'm terrified," Olivia admitted. "What if I'm a terrible mother?" "You won't be." Damien stopped walking and turned to face her. "You're going to be amazing. You're kind and strong, and you fight for what matters. Those kids are lucky to have you. They're lucky to have you too." Olivia met his eyes. "You've been incredible through all of this, Damien. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me." Damien reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. His hand lingered on her cheek. "Olivia, I need to tell you something." "What?" Her heart was suddenly racing. "I'm falling in love with you." The words came out quiet but certain. "Maybe I started that first night. Maybe it's been building all these weeks. But I can't pretend anymore. I love you. I love our babies. I want this to be real, not just co-parenting, but us. A family. Together." Olivia's breath caught. Every defense she'd built, every reason she'd given herself to keep her distance, crumbled in the face of his honesty. "I love you too," she whispered. "I've been so scared to admit it." "Why?" Damien stepped closer, his hands gentle on her face. "Because loving people means risking losing them. Because I don't know how to trust this." "Then learn with me." Damien's amber eyes held hers. "We'll figure it out together, just like everything else." When he kissed her, it felt like coming home. Not the desperate passion of their first night, but something deeper, more certain. A promise of tomorrows and todays and everything in between. 2 heartbeats. One family, the twins arrived at 34 weeks. During a routine checkup, when Olivia's water broke in Dr. Morales' office, the delivery was fast and chaotic. 2 healthy babies, a boy and a girl, screaming their arrival into the world. "They're perfect," Damien breathed, cradling his daughter while Olivia held their son. "Look what we made. We made a family," Olivia corrected, tears streaming down her face. "The most unexpected, complicated, perfect family." Later, when the babies were sleeping in the hospital nursery and Olivia was dozing in her room, Damien sat beside her bed and thought about how one night had changed everything. How a woman who'd tried to walk away had become the center of his world. How 2 tiny heartbeats had taught him what love really meant. Grace Foster arrived the next morning, her expression carefully neutral. But when she held her grandchildren for the first time, something shifted in her face. "They're beautiful," she said quietly. "Both of them, they are," Damien agreed. "Just like their mother." Grace looked at Olivia, really looked at her for the first time. Whatever she saw made her nod slowly. "Perhaps I was too hasty in my judgment. These children are blessed to have you both." Wasn't a full apology, but it was a start. Ruby visited with balloons and tears of joy. Tommy brought terrible jokes and genuine pride in his sister. Julian arrived with champagne for later, and congratulations for now. As night fell on that first day of parenthood, Damien and Olivia sat together in her hospital room, watching their twins sleep in their bassinets. "I was so scared that night at Ruby's party," Olivia confessed. "Of what you made me feel, of how much I wanted you. I thought if I ran away fast enough, I could avoid getting hurt. And now?" Damien wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Now I know running doesn't protect you from life. It just makes you miss the good parts. Olivia leaned into him. Thank you for not letting me run from this. Thank you for coming back. Damien kissed her forehead. For giving us a chance, they named the twins Harper and Mason, after Olivia's father and Damien's grandfather. 2 names from their pasts, joining to create a future neither had planned but both embraced in the weeks that followed. They learned the exhausting reality of twin parenthood, the sleepless nights, the synchronized crying, the chaos of 2 babies needing everything at once. But they learned it together. Damien changed diapers and gave bottles while Olivia recovered. Olivia soothed colicky babies while Damien researched solutions. They were partners in the truest sense, the beginning of forever 6 months later. Damien proposed in the middle of the night while they were both walking the halls with fussy babies. There was no ring, no elaborate plan, just 2 exhausted people who'd built something real in the chaos. Marry me, Damien said, bouncing Harper gently. I know we did everything backward, but let's make it official. Not because of them, but because I can't imagine my life without you in it. You're proposing while we both smell like spit up and haven't slept in 3 days. Olivia laughed, swaying with Mason. I'm proposing because this is real life, and I want every messy, chaotic, beautiful moment of it with you. Damien shifted Harper to one arm and took Olivia's hand. Say yes. Yes, Olivia agreed, feeling joy bloom in her chest. Yes to all of it. They married 6 months later, in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Ruby cried through the entire thing. Tommy walked Olivia down the aisle. Grace Foster actually smiled. And Harper and Mason, dressed in matching outfits, slept peacefully through their parents' vows, standing at the altar, holding Damien's hands while their twins dozed in Ruby and Tommy's arms. Olivia thought about that night at the engagement party, how she'd tried to protect herself by walking away, how one unexpected night had become 2 heartbeats, then 4, then a family she never knew she needed. I love you, she whispered as they exchanged rings. I love you more, Damien replied. Though our children might have us both beat, life wasn't perfect. They still argued about dirty dishes and division of baby duties. Grace still occasionally made pointed comments. Work-life balance remained an ongoing challenge. But they faced it together as partners and parents and people who'd chosen each other despite everything. One night, when the twins were sleeping and they finally had a moment to themselves, Olivia found the ultrasound photos from that first appointment, the day they'd learned they were having twins. Can you believe we were so scared? She asked, showing them to Damien. Terrified, he agreed, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Best fear I ever faced. Olivia leaned back against him, contentment settling over her like a warm blanket. She thought about the woman who'd fled his apartment that morning, convinced she needed to protect herself from feeling too much. She wanted to tell that woman what she knew now. Sometimes, the scariest thing to do is exactly what saves you. 2 heartbeats on an ultrasound screen, 2 tiny lives that changed everything, and one night that became forever. Ready for bed? Damien asked, kissing her neck. Always, Olivia replied, taking his hand and leading him toward their bedroom, toward their life, toward the future they built together, one unexpected moment at a time.